There we go. It's Colin Killian. How are you today?
Oh, no, we're being recorded?
Yes, we are. Yes.
I'm doing great, thanks.
You got a guest with you today.
Yeah, we're very happy to have Place 4 Councilwoman Melissa McIlHaney.
Good morning, Melissa. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Let's give folks, because you were just elected in November, so for folks who might not know a little bit about you, a little bit of background that brings you to this spot on the College Station City Council.
Well, I was pretty upfront about it during the campaign. I got mad, and that's what brought me here. We were just talking about Dr. Cooper's house at the corner of Francis and Walton. It's on a nice 2-acre lot. And there was a gentleman, an investor, that bought that property and wanted to split it into 2 lots and put
something else.
Something else, yes. And it's completely inconsistent with what's in that area of the community. And I knew that P&Z was a stopgap in that. So I threw my name in the hat to get on Planning and Zoning Commission so that I could help possibly protect that property, but definitely others that were coming through. And wound up hanging out on P&Z for about 3 years, thoroughly enjoyed it, and actually chaired it my last year. And then when it came time to run, the gentleman that ran, whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for, Aaron Collins, he and I at that time had a very different opinion of how neighborhoods should be protected. And so, again, wanting to protect my neighborhood and others, I threw my hat in the ring for the position, and here we are.
That's it. And here we are. And now, all of a sudden, you are learning about. And how long have you lived in College Station?
Since 1994, for all but about 6 years.
Okay. So in that time, how do you now look at this city differently from when you were a citizen and now you're a member of council?
Well, I think I had a fairly decent grasp on the issues that were facing the city, just tangentially coming from P&Z and then also coming from a position of interest. But you get the nuance of things sitting on council. You get way more information. It's coming from all directions, and you have to tease through that and find out exactly whether your position is warranted or if it's going to have unintended consequences elsewhere. So there's a moderating effect that takes place, but it's just a tremendous amount of information. This town is booming. There are just people everywhere, all kinds of different needs and considerations to be had. We've got the largest student body it feels like the world, I think definitely in the country here locally. And we're just we're isolated, but in the middle of everything, if that makes sense. So there's just a lot of considerations.
Well, I know that some of the first questions you had from watching anecdotally the sessions that you had been sitting in, how the city does business, even though you're on planning and zoning and understood that portion of it, how the city does business and why they do it the way they do probably is something that's been kind of illuminating. Yes,
the processes involved they're deeply entrenched in the way government works, and the laws that we have to follow don't necessarily follow common sense or the laws of business. And coming from the private sector, I'd done a stint at A&M in the 90s and early 2000s, but it's a different world, and the considerations are different. I do think that we should be involving and using our local trades and businesses to accomplish the goals of the city as much as possible, but of course we have to do that within the constraints of the law. So,
let's talk about real estate. Obviously, the Macy's building, done before you came on council, but a lot of people have some strong feelings about the city being in the real estate business. As one member of council, what's your thought there?
Well, typically, I believe that the private sector is much more and better equipped to find the highest and best use for things. I was opposed to the Macy's purchase, was one of 2 citizens that stood up as a citizen that night and basically called it like I saw it. We have not had opportunity on council since I've been elected to really delve into what the plans are for Macy's. I think that that's coming up as we have a rec center study coming back. I have a feeling staff's going to bring us some things to consider and look at. But ultimately, at this point, I'm not very interested in retroactively going back and figuring out how we got to where we are. I want to make sure we don't get here again, but most importantly, I want to make sure that we make the best of this asset we have.
So, presented with that situation today, Melissa McIlHaney, one member of College Station City Council, what would be a circumstance where you would feel like this is a piece of property that College Station, the city, should purchase?
I personally, at this juncture, have not come up with a reason as to why I would have voted to support that. Again, if in case you haven't noticed, Scott, there's been a lot going on that we have been looking at that's happening right now.
Certainly.
But I haven't gotten to the point where I'm saying, yeah, that was a great idea.
Okay, so once again, now you walk in and you are on city council dealing with decisions other councils have made. For better or worse, you have certainly been noticed by Austin. And so a couple of legislative things that are going on now. And Paul Bentoncourt has been very vocal about this, and he talks about how he was an Aggie and he was here, and it's not the same way it used to be. So two things, basically, more than four, and how you feel about that and what the city should do, and then the impact fees. So let's start with more than four.
I support no more than four. It's a law that's been on the book for years. It is an imperfect tool, and I think anyone on council, I think I could speak for all of us, would agree with that. But it's a tool that we have, and it's one that at least puts a very strong stance out there. We do want to protect our neighborhoods. We've got 65% of our homes, single-family homes, are rental properties, and we want to make sure that folks that live in my neighborhood can afford to live there. People that have lived there for decades, that with the property values being driven up by investors, it has impacted their ability to stay in that house long term as the tax valuation catches up with the taxes owed. They're going to have to find another way to live, and so we have also all the people that work at A&M. They need places to live as well. So we're not trying to in any way inhibit students from living a full and successful life in College Station, but we want that same protection for our families too.
At the same time, with that many properties where you may have violations, code enforcement is certainly a concern. Again, as one member of council, what is a reasonable way to be able to get your arms around code enforcement?
We should manage behaviors. We should look at parking restrictions, and I think citizens are becoming more and more open to that as a tool in their neighborhoods. We should look at sound ordinances, the things that we have in place. We have tools. We just need to keep adding tools until we find that balance to preserve our neighborhoods and ensure a high-quality life for all of our citizens, families, and students.
Impact fees have been in College Station in place for a long time. Now, it's very easy to compare because Bryan doesn't. There are other cities other than College Station who have impact fees as well. But again, State Representative Paul Dyson, who has College Station in his district, has introduced proposed a moratorium for 4 years on impact fees. What are your thoughts as far as impact fees are concerned?
I think that impact fees are a tool, again, that a city should be able to have in their toolbox as you're determining how you pay for certain things in your city. I do think our current structure bears a very hard look, and I think we need to take a scalpel to it, not a chainsaw, and just axe them entirely. And I think most of the development community would agree with that, of which I am a part. I do not think that Austin should tell us how we can finance the infrastructure in our town. And if a moratorium goes in place, and Dyson's bill's not clear, does it mean no new impact fees, or is it just we continue on the path we're on and the city still has the ability to levy the fees that are already in the pipeline, or does it eliminate them entirely for 3 years? It's not clear. But in general, I feel that we should have, not in general, very specifically, I feel that the city of College Station is best positioned to know how to manage the costs that are being incurred in our community.
So let's talk about, you and your husband have an architecture firm and you're in development as well. So knowing with that background, and which is an interesting background to bring to city council. So if you say we're going to use a slicer to take out a portion of an impact fee, where do you see adjustments in impact fees, you personally, one member of council, how they could be adjusted?
Right this second, I can tell you unequivocally, I would support a waiver of impact fees for houses that meet that affordable housing definition. And I can't remember what it's 85% of the
whatever it happens
whatever. But those houses by percentage are bearing a much larger portion of the impact fee, because the fees don't fluctuate whether you're building a $350,000 house or a $2 million house. So I think that eliminating that factor from the very housing that we need to create is a very wise step.
The city of Bryan did this for years. They they waived fees. They had no impact fees, but they waived other fees for builders. Beyond impact fees, would you be in favor of that if it fits within the category of affordable housing?
Just having pulled permits on a regular basis, I don't have specific issues with the permitting pricing. I think that it is something that could be considered. But in general, I think the biggest bite of the apple would be looking at that impact fee for sure.
Okay, you're going to wait on, of course, report to come back as far as staff is concerned on a couple of things, a civic center, if you will, and a rec center. What are your thoughts on those, just as a member of council? Before you see the report, just
Sure.
on face.
On face, I'm eager to look at both of those reports. Those have both been discussed ad nauseum by prior councils, and I think that's something you need to remember too. It's very easy to armchair quarterback what's going on or what a council's decisions might have been, but I'm trying to look at everything with fresh eyes with the data that's in front of us now, and I'll form a very vocal opinion, I'm sure, once we see that data.
Very good. Anything this morning that you'd like to talk about? I've peppered you with questions. Anything you'd like to talk about?
No, I've spent the last couple of months moving through City Hall, meeting with all the different directors on each of the departments, and I'm thoroughly impressed with our staff and the way they do business on our behalf. They are eager to come up with solutions and ideas of how we can move from here to there. And like just take the impact fees. I mean, the city's not going to, wither and die no matter what direction we take. But we're getting options, from all different perspectives that, this is what you can do. This is the benefit. This is the pros and cons. And so I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate what staff does for us.
Good. Thanks for the time this morning.
Thanks.
Yeah. What else you got?
Well, just a reminder, city offices are closed today, but solid waste and recycling is running on their usual schedule. So be sure and put your trash out.